1 Kings chapter 18, verses 18 through 39. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab, and he informed him. Then Ahab came to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw Elijah, Ahab said to him, "Is that you, the one who brings trouble on Israel?" Elijah said, "It is not I who have brought trouble on Israel, but rather you and your father's house, because you abandoned the Lord's commandments and followed the Baals. But now gather all Israel before me on Mount Carmel, along with the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table." So Ahab sent word to all the people of Israel, and he assembled the prophets on Mount Carmel. Then Elijah said to all the people, "How long will you stagger around on two crutches? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal is God, follow him." But the people did not answer him a single word. Then Elijah said to the people, "I am the only one left of the Lord's prophets, but the prophets of Baal total 450 men. Provide 2 bulls for us. Let them choose 1 bull for themselves and cut it up and place it on the firewood, but they are not to light the fire. I will prepare the other bull and place it on the firewood, but I will not light the fire. Then you will call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers with fire, he is God." All the people said, "This proposal is good." Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, "Choose for yourselves 1 bull, and you go first because there are so many of you. Call on the name of your God. But do not light the fire." So they took the bull which had been given to them and prepared it. Then they called on the name of Baal from morning until noon, "Baal, answer us." But there was not a sound. No one answered. So they staggered around the altar which they had made. When noon came, Elijah mocked them, "Shout louder. He is a god, isn't he? He may be deep in thought or busy or on a journey. Perhaps he is asleep and will wake up." So they cried out with a loud voice, and according to their practice they cut themselves with daggers and spears until their blood flowed. After noon, they kept up a prophetic frenzy until the time of the evening sacrifice, but there was no sound. No one answered. There was no response. Then Elijah said to all the people, "Come here to me." So they came to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord, which had been torn down. Elijah took 12 stones, 1 for each of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come and had proclaimed, "Your name shall be Israel." He built the stones into an altar in the name of the Lord. Around it he made a trench big enough to hold about 25 pounds of seed. He arranged the wood, cut up the bull, and placed it on the wood. Then he said, "Fill 4 jars with water and pour it on the sacrifice and on the wood." Then he said, "Do it again." So they did it again. Then he said, "Do it a 3rd time." So they did it a 3rd time. The water flowed all around the altar. It even filled the trench. When the time of the evening sacrifice had arrived, Elijah the prophet stood up and said, "O Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant and that I have done all these things by your word. Answer me, Lord. Answer me so that this people will know that you, O Lord, are God and that you are turning their hearts back to you." Fire from the Lord fell on the sacrifice and on the wood, the stones, and the dirt. It even licked up the water in the trench. When all the people saw this, they fell on their knees and said, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God." 1 Kings chapter 21, verses 1 through 19. Some time passed after these events. Naboth from Jezreel had a vineyard in Jezreel, next to the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. Ahab said to Naboth, "Give me your vineyard so I can use it as a vegetable garden, because it is beside my house, and I will give you a better vineyard in exchange. Or if you prefer, I will give you the purchase price in silver." But Naboth said to Ahab, "May I be cursed by the Lord, if I were to give you the inheritance from my fathers." Ahab went to his house sullen and angry because of what Naboth from Jezreel had said to him, for he had said, "I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers." Ahab lay down on his bed and turned his face away and would not eat anything. Then his wife Jezebel came to him and said, "Why is your spirit so sullen, and why don't you eat?" Then he told her, I said to Naboth from Jezreel, sell your vineyard to me, or if you prefer, I will give you a vineyard in its place. But he said, I will not give you my vineyard. Then his wife Jezebel said to him, Are you now acting like the king over Israel? Get up, eat something, and cheer up. I will give you the vineyard of Naboth from Jezreel. Then Jezebel wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal. She sent the letters to the elders and nobles who were living in the city with Naboth. She wrote in the letters, Proclaim a fast and then seat Naboth at the head of the people. Seat 2 wicked, worthless men opposite him and have them testify, You cursed God and the king. Then take him out and stone him to death. The men of the city, the elders and the nobles who lived there, did exactly as Jezebel had commanded them, exactly as she had written in the letters she had sent them. They proclaimed a fast and then seated Naboth at the head of the people. They brought 2 wicked, worthless men and seated them opposite him. The wicked men testified against Naboth before the people, Naboth cursed God and the king. So they took him outside the city and stoned him to death. Then they sent word to Jezebel, Naboth has been stoned to death. When Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned to death, she said to Ahab, Go and take possession of the vineyard of Naboth from Jezreel, which he refused to sell to you, because Naboth is no longer alive but dead. When Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, he went and took possession of the vineyard of Naboth from Jezreel. Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah from Tishbe. Go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, who rules in Samaria. Right now he is in Naboth's vineyard because he has gone down to take possession of it. You are to tell him, This is what the Lord says. Have you committed murder and seized this man's property? Then you will say to him, This is what the Lord says. In the place where dogs licked Naboth's blood, dogs will lick your blood also.